Mm. Mm. Ya me he olvidado.
Está todo
No. If we
So,
finish now,
is everything okay? We can start, all right?
okay. Do you do any introduction or?
I'm gonna start, and then
Okay.
that's the word.
Okay,
So,
perfect. I was not sure.
hello, everyone. Welcome to the first session of CMD Talks 2023. CMD Talks is an event affiliated with our PhD in computational media design, where we invite researchers, practitioners, and communicators to start to share their perspectives of this emerging field. Today, our invited speakers are Varvara and Mar. Varvara and Mar is an artist duo formed by Dr. Varvara Guljajeva and Mar Canet in 2009. Often the duo's work is inspired by the information age, and in their practice, they confront social changes and the impact of the technological era. The artists duo has exhibited their art pieces in a number of international shows and festivals, like the Museum of Arts and Design in New York, FACT in Liverpool, Santa Monica in Barcelona, Barbican, and the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, Arts Electronica Museum in Linz, DKM in Karlsruhe, and many others. So, Varvara and Mar, thank you so much for accepting our invitation, and the stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting us. So we have selected a couple of number of projects which live, some live more in art, some more in academia, and some kind of meet them in the crossroads. So we didn't put any specific topic, so we decided to just name it Artist Talk, but we have kind of sub sections from recent work until early works. So let's get started. As you already had a brief introduction, so yeah, we are artist duo working together from 2009, but also we are affiliated with universities. So I have assistant professor position in computational media and arts at HKUST and Maris at Tallinn University. So we are doing art and research. First, we talk about projects which are exploring the topic of AI and creativity, and what is, I think most of you have heard about AI and so on. But I guess for us, kind of the most kind of inspiring part and motivating part is this translation of semiotic spaces. First project explores the speech to image translation. And this is Dream Painter. It's an interactive robotic art installation which was commissioned by Tabacalera Center of Contemporary Culture in San Sebastian in north of Spain in the late 21. And well, what robot is doing is painting or trying to understand people's dreams. It's in a way we kind of yeah, maybe let's say like Freud has dedicated all his life of understanding our subconscious and dream world. Then today, when AI is claimed to be so powerful, then we are asking, of course, speculatively, if AI can understand our mind better than we do ourselves. So what is happening here, I have a short video, that it's industrial arm robot, which paints the dream what was just told. So it holds up the mic and you approach the installation and you explain your dream. And while it's putting down the microphone and picking up the marker, we already have done the calculation. We use a clip model calculation, like well, we have also translated spoken language to text, and then text to lines, and lines to coordinates, which understand the robot. And then when the drawing is done, then the paper progresses, and as you, I don't know, yeah, maybe this video doesn't show, it creates also kind of collective dreaming or cascade of dreams. It's also kind of asking or posing the question, like if current technological age, especially like deep learning and so on, is it a dream or a nightmare? So I guess we hear kind of two kind of sides, no? It's some, they are very critical about new technology, and at the same time there are also many companies, institutions, and researchers who are embracing this innovation. I have the okay.
Oh, yeah. And at the same time, these dreams that people explain even for human might be sometimes complicated to kind of like visualize in a drawing what someone. Here's some examples, for example, that were actually in Lisbon, where we show it in multimedia. Some are very simple, that someone said that the Mona Lisa, that dream with Mona Lisa, and some are more surreal, like a fish riding a bike, someone saw this in a dream. And might be complicated to draw that, but we said that this is a section where it's like translation of semiotic spaces, and I can introduce a little bit in where we are based. Like there is a Estonian semiotician, Yuri Lotman, who actually long time ago was writing about already this mistranslation between mediums and these errors of translation that creates creativity, and I think these models of image to text and speech to image, like we did, they produce a lot of this kind of like new creativity on the errors of translation. In our case, we actually choose to do the sketch way of drawing, because it has more open interpretation and it fits perfect to kind of like interpret dreams. Because like if you will generate like a pixel image out of this dream, someone can say, but this is not exactly what I dreamed with, because it will be very defined image. But since it's a sketch, and in the case of like our Tabacalera very big sketch, like people complete also these sketches with their imagination. And that's very interesting too on the
And we wrote a long art paper which was published in SIGGRAPH, so you can also it's open access, so you can download it. It's a link and also QR code. And what we are writing there about is also this how we explore the creative possibilities of AI through the interaction. So because there is this term creative AI, but as an artist, I feel really often that with AI, I'm kind of, it's very difficult to be creative, because AI writes better text than I do and makes better images than I do. So what could artists do, right? So that's why for us it's also in terms of like understanding this technology and also creating certain kind of discussion between the artwork artist and the audience. We explore, we come from like interactive art. We want to have this interactivity and the experience of navigation of latent space or the space of possibilities, what this technology offers. And from this, actually here also like what we have been when we installed in multimedia, the tiny version, we have been like collecting the drawings and trying also to understand like how actually CLIP deep learning model understands the text what is submitting, how it understands the concept behind. And we came up also with a different groupings, like together with my research group here, and that's why we are also saying like very boldly that that is AI explained through our dreams, because actually it offers also through the interaction we can understand better what is happening in this deep learning neural nodes. Actually I took out this multimedia thing. It looks like I thought it was here, but now it disappeared. Okay. Maybe I took it out. I don't know. So the other.
Well, we can mention that we did a smaller version of this installation for multimedia. That where we show it in Lisbon, and that one we only paint in black and white, but basically with one marker that is black on A4.
And use tiny robot.
Yeah, and use tiny robot. It's more for like small venues and so on. And also, like we didn't mention here, the 4 concepts that we came out with: this clear concept and indeterminate confusion and lost in translation. And
but this is still in work in progress.
Yeah, this work in progress of kind of categorization of the images that they produce.
Yeah. The next one is translation is from text to ceramics. This also has been recently, we created an artwork and also recently published a long paper in Eva Moos art, and which is also in Springer.
And I believe that many of you of Coimbra also were there because I saw many publications from the group.
Yes, that's how you kind of you discover like which are the kind of good conferences by going to conferences. Then you meet people, and then you discover where you should.
Well, unfortunately, we had to present it online this time.
Yes. And we talk about AI aided ceramic sculptures and bridging deep learning with materiality. We started this research by very kind of pragmatic question, because we were sure that deep learning can do it, was how to generate 3D form, what can be manufactured by digital fabrication tools. And this was in the late 2021. And by kind of field study, we discovered that they are not really good tool what could produce us the 3D form what we could produce or reproduce. And here actually this research demonstrate like how we started with kind of simple idea. And by exploring the field of deep learning and 3D generation, we ended up with a concept where we found a model which would kind of stylize or change the mesh of the inputted object with the text. So we used then we thought like, okay, then what about going to really back to the ancient art and culture and revisit them through the neural age, so to say. And we then fed several ancient Greek and Roman sculptures or 3D models actually, together with our text prompt, which we kind of tried to treat more like poems, and then many models actually they got discarded because they were impossible to be repaired. So they were on the screen, they were very nice, but in practice they were quite useless. So we kind of picked out which were for us as an experts visually interesting, like valuable, and also what could be repairable. And first we started to kind of repair the 3D model, but then we actually we got engaged. We started also to take more kind of agency over the model, and when we decided to print from the ceramics, then this would be already well, first the second one was from neural to digital, where we also kind of curated all the output and results. And then the next step was from digital to physical, when then we were 3D printing them with clay, and of course material. It gives its own, it has its own agency, and it alters the form, and also it gives certain, it decides also what can be fabricated and what cannot be. And the last one was from physical to chemical, where then we colored by glazing the sculptures, and some like, let's say, suggestions of AI we liked and took it as inspiration, and some we didn't, and we changed totally the color, so you can see from certain parts. And
but also what is interesting is kind of the unpredictability of the outcome of, especially when we painted in the ceramic, and also when we actually even printed the ceramic, because when you print ceramic, like you are printing with clay that is basically water and mud, and basically the clay is it has gravity, and if it's the weight distribution on the model is too heavy in one side, it will lean towards this. I mean, you can try to kind of hold it in certain ways, but it's still like move. And also when it actually dry, the thing is rings 10% at minimum, means there is also the movement of the water going out of the clay, and then when it fires, it finalizes the form. And and then you actually need to fire 2 times. We do classical ceramics that you fire 2 times in order to. The first one is to solidify the clay, and then you fire with a little bit less temperature, and then you paint, and then you fire second time with more temperature.
Yeah, and actually that's why I mean, sometimes we receive questions like why the project name is Psychedelic Forms if we have taken drugs while we were doing this project. But it's more like describing kind of this unpredictable journey
of the process,
of the process.
And also when you paint clay, I think it's here, but very little, but you can see better in the paper. Like when you paint in clay, the paint is really like
it's a glaze.
It's not the same color when it fires than before.
You don't see the color.
You don't see the color. It means it's a little bit the same as when you are
doing with AI tools.
Yeah, generative tools that you kind of guide towards something with the text or with some latent variables, but you don't know exactly what you will get. You know more or less what you will get, but there is a lot of unpredictability on the outcome, which makes good, because it makes very unique outcomes every time. That, well, it most of the times probably satisfy you, and a few times maybe no.
Yeah. And I wanted also to add, like, if some of you kind of know 3D printing in clay, normally you would see just vases because it's complex to print with clay, and this kind of these sculptures were 40 centimeters tall. So it was even the partners with who we worked, they said, okay, like, we don't take any responsibility on your risk, because it's very risky what you're doing, and they never have seen such complex shapes being printed out in clay. And actually, when we say 3D printing, many people, they say, oh, you push the button and you go for a coffee. No, we had to kind of really watch every minute that thing doesn't fall fall off, like it happened several times, because it was it was not easy journey, but
and another thing that I can mention is that the title of the works are actually the prompts that we use for like guiding the form.
Yeah, you can see here. Well, this is our prompts are our creation, and then in the brackets you can see what was original sculpture inputted. And well, as we have been kind of wondering about this meaning of creativity, what is creativity today? So I have co-edited a book, and also me and Mar, we both contributed the text to it, and I am happy to announce that it's free to download. So again, if you want to have a copy, then just scan the QR code and you get to the link.
We can also copy the link maybe in the chat later on.
Yeah. So now, since we already a bit talked about interaction, so for us, interactivity is quite important aspect, and which it's kind of love and hate, because you expect audience to do certain things and they do totally different sometimes, so we get tired and we do something else, and then we come back again to it. So it's kind of quite close to our practice, the interactivity. So maybe the most known interactive work in our practice is a wishing wall, which is from 2014, and it was commissioned by Barbican and Google for Digital Revolution exhibition. And this work, actually, this wasn't, I mean, other people have been writing about this, and it had been touring exhibition, but we ourselves, we actually haven't really written about this much, maybe because it took physically so much to produce it. So I put the video, and while it's playing, maybe you can explain what is happening. Yeah, I have also text. So inspiration came from idea that we have a lot of multiple traditions in different cultures, like how to make wishes, like either it's birthday candles, or when you see the falling star, or something else. But there is never kind of this visual manifestation of the wish. No, it's no memory kind of out of this. So we decided to turn wishes into butterflies. So all the butterflies you see on the digital wall, which is 4.5 meters tall, are the people's wishes, and you can also tell your wish to the wishing wall. It gets into handwritten text, then it turns into a cocoon, and then it's a born butterfly. So we do also sentiment analysis of the wish, which determines the color and the shape of the butterflies.
Wings.
And then you can reach out and have for certain second your butterfly in your hand, and then it flies away. And it's
all designed by code, inclusive the typography that you saw. Is all made in WebGL. Actually, that was a kind of an agreement with Google, because we actually make it work for Chrome, everything, and we use the 3GS, that is a very known library for.
Well, this was the beginning of when web became 3D, 2014, if you have to think.
And this installation used 7 computers. Means it needed a lot of also synchronization between them. And what is this? Well, I don't know if you see the scale, but it's 5 meters tall projection by 3 meters wide, and it's 4 projections aligned to make this is high resolution, and is retro projected from the back.
Yeah, when you see the work, is kind of really, technology is very seamless. So actually, once it was, I think work was, I mean, many people, they don't realize that there are like 4 projectors and so on, because it feels so natural, everything. That's how it has. But this is, you can see the backstage. Actually, we have this dark room, nerdy room, when we spend all our days before the opening. And what we also do very often is combining the physical computing with all this digital WebGL and graphical output. That for us, this physicality and interaction is very important, and that's what we try to also show in our works.
Yeah, you can see here the 2 trash cans Mac that were our power force for the installation, and also we track the position of the hand, and we project into the hand, and also we make the calculation for volume, because when you move the hand up and down, it needs to be calculated where the butterfly goes, and also this to the size and so on. I mean, it was not it was a complicated thing. It's a very complicated installation. We had installed in many places around the world. Yeah, it was touring with Varvara, and also we installed it in other places ourselves.
Yeah. So more recent work is we are the clouds, where we explore, where we turn people into clouds. This was commissioned by Suri Art Center, and they have a permanent digital facade on the recreation center, and you can it can be seen from the train. And this work brings together participative element and also interactive, because you can see like people and clouds drifting by, but also when you go close, there is an interaction kiosk, and you can become a cloud, and you can kind of interact with other clouds which are pre-recorded, as you see. So we in the place, we don't record. This only a real-time interaction. The record, like participative element, was when during the workshop with the local people, we asked them if they want to be part of the We Are the Clouds, and they came, and some they danced, some they played basketball, some they hugged. So they were creative while doing certain things with their bodies. So we recorded them, and then we turned them into a clouds. So this is kind of they agreed that we can use this content and so on. So they wanted to be part of it. When you are at the place, since we don't want actually, well, the problem with interactive artworks is always like, if you ask people to do something, to draw, to say, you always have to deal with this not suitable content, like malicious messages and so on. So someone has to monitor them and so on. So, and maybe somebody then says, oh, I was there, but I didn't want this, please delete me or whatever. So in this sense, like, we don't record, you are there, the cloud, when
you can do whatever you want as long as you are there, and will disappear when you go. And then we use this other clouds that appear from the recorded data set. And then conceptually, this piece also, of course, talks about our
the word of cloud, how it has been changed.
And also how we have a copy of ourselves in the cloud, and how our footprints of ourselves is recorded somewhere. means we are playing with the meaning of the cloud and our footprint that we are living in there. And also this thing that the locals they appear on the piece, because the piece was actually for 1 year in Surrey Art Center that is in the outskirts of Vancouver. And now the video what you see is from the skyline, is the metro of Vancouver. Means it was very visible during the basically nighttime when the metro is passing, because like it's just passing in front and you see it very well. It's quite big projection. Apparently is the larger screen for non-commercial in Canada, because belongs to an art center and doesn't put advertisement, never. Only commission artists every year. And yeah.
Yeah, and also like working with technology, we like our big effort is always to, because we go there, we install, and then we don't live in Canada, we don't live in Vancouver, so the work has to kind of survive on its own. So we always think like how it can be autonomous. Everything is autonomous. It runs itself, and there is kind of no problems. That's kind of invisible part when nobody notices it, because if there are no problems, nobody notices it. But it's for having no problems, there is a hard work behind. And this is for the artists who work with technologies, is very kind of important aspect to consider, that your work also outside of the studio is able to function and to live without artists being on the phone or there all the time. Okay, yeah, this is neural knitting Beethoven is also interactive work commissioned by Goethe Institute Asia, and was performed in Hong Kong Art Center and Nabi Art Center in Seoul. Actually, it was planned in 7 more cities in Asia, but due to pandemic, it had to become telematic, so it's interactive and telematic work.
Let's say that We Are the Clouds was the last work before being affected by COVID.
Yeah.
We installed in January 2020, and the next work that we had was this neural knitting Beethoven that was supposed to be launching Art Basel, Hong Kong in 2020, and that's the first thing that got cancelled. But luckily, we did it at the end of 2020, but yeah, with less places that was planned.
So this project was in frames of celebration of Beethoven's anniversary, 250 years. And we proposed, since we have been working with EG and knitting for a while, and we have been dreaming about its performativity, then we thought like, well, why don't we knit pianist brainwaves while he or she is playing? So instead of audience hearing the interpretation of Beethoven's music, they can actually experience also the affective state of the musician, which is then translated to knitting processes. To the attention is connected to the speed of the knitting machine, and on the attention peaks, it's also sprays the yarn and generates a pattern. So in this sense, like if we talk also about the novelty of the work, then this data materialization and physicalization in real time, normally it doesn't happen. So it's something what is, I think, what is quite unique in this work, that you can experience in real time how this data influence the fabrication processes. So as we told, it had to become telematic. So we couldn't, the events were allowed with 50% of the capacity, but we from Europe, we couldn't travel to Asia without really long quarantines and so on. So we were in studio together with a knitting machine, and we shipped a dedicated computer and EEG headset to the venue. So we had multiple rehearsals, how to install the computer, run everything, connect the BCI, and disconnect it to our computer in the studio in Tallinn and to the knitting machine, and that everything works. And of course, everything was streamed and so on. So it was complex interplay of the connections. Here you can see the knitting machine there also. Yeah, we just have knitting machine here just beside the computer. And well, circular, this is our design, and also self-made, self-design circular knitting machine.
It's actually
from 2014.
Yeah, and we opened hardware, we documented, and we even got an award in Instructables about this.
Yeah. And this is the kind of pattern making mechanism you see on the right, maybe left, I don't know, it's maybe mirrored. And this is dyeing technique that it's on the peaks. It's, again, as you remember, all our works are autonomous. So when the attention kicks in, and it passes the threshold, it triggers the spray, so motor goes down and sprays the yarn, and it changes the color, and while it gets knit, you know, you can see the density of the garment.
And this part of the dyeing, this was a new part that we actually implemented for this performance. We always wanted to have some kind of pattern mechanism into the knitting machine, and we came out with this solution where we could dyeing the yarn before entering into the.
Yeah, and we also like the performativity of this, because it's really kind of the mechanical kinetic act when certain kind of data comes in, what stands for focus. Otherwise, you don't. Otherwise, when you knit with knitting machine, you see the pattern when the garment comes out. So for us, if well, you cannot really like look at this project from pragmatic point of view of knitter, for instance, because it's different kind of approach. For us was the performativity and the experience of data more important than, let's say, the quality or the uselessness of the garment. And from the scientific point, the same about the EEG data. So I have here the snippet of the. You can also hear a bit of classical music. So maybe you can a bit explain what is happening, because well, in Seoul, actually, the pianist decided that he doesn't want to wear on the last moment the EEG headset, and invited a Korean famous monk instead, who was meditating and kind of hacking our system with his mind. And a part of knitting machine, we also had real-time visualization of brainwaves, which was then locally done at the concert venue. And this raw data visualization was then overlaying the AI-generated videos for the repertoire, and they were also audio responsive. So we had also the microphone in the place.
And actually, from this implementation, we came up with now one version also that is interactive for yeah. And also here, what is important is that the knitting machine kind of database or outcome from the performance, and it's always different. And every row of the knitting or every sprayed part in the yarn that enters into this kind of tubular garment that is produced actually after the performance was something like 90 centimeters of this tube that we actually change colors in some of the songs. Is like a representation of the mind state of well, in this case of the monk, and in Hong Kong was the pianist itself that was wearing the headset.
Yeah. And well, this kind of like multimodal approach to data is also because we really thought hard and worked hard how to engage with audience in these hybrid events when we are not there, that they are not just, looking just another streaming thing or whatever. So it was our also aim. And then after presenting this work at VSAP conference with IEEE, where we thought, okay, we show the videos, and actually the chairs said like, no, but we want to see the machine and so on. And then while being there, we realized, oh, but actually it's interactive knitting and neural knitting, because there we changed this mode of interaction because we wanted that people really feel that they knit with their brain. So here are some views from the conference. So the knitting machine doesn't knit unless there are some brain activity. So one needs
a very small change in our kind of like implementation make a very big impact to the people. That was that like Varvara, I think, kind of introduced, that was that the knitting machine was steady when you enter to the place, but then whenever someone will put the EEG and the system will receive the brainwave data, then the knitting machine will start to move on the speed of the concentration load that they are receiving from the EEG perceive. Means if you got more concentrated, the machine will start to spin faster, and when they will get out the EEG, the machine will stop again. And that was like the audience participation was kind of amazed that oh yeah, we are like moving with our brain, and also they need to kind of like put their cognitive load into kind of move the machine. Like if they are distracted, the machine will just like not move, also will like move very slow and clunky. And this kind of like brain work to knit is a little bit of a modern paradigm to kind of like concentrate and relax, to make like knit work with your hands and the needles like in manual way, but on kind of like concentrate on the machine, that the machine will do for you. It's a very nice metaphors there, I think.
Okay, we are continuing with data, and we have other works which are concerned about this, how we explore or how we engage with data as artistic material and also experience of it. And that I think our well, maybe Mars not, but our work together. First time we started, we use social media data as artistic material was Rhythm of City, where then we have 10 metronomes which are ticking in the rhythm of selected cities and representing the pace of digital inhabitants. We use geolocative social media data in real time from Flickr, Twitter, Foursquare, and
yeah, we had been changing a little bit the social media on different divisions also with the APIs that we had been changed and so on. But basically, the idea is to get the quantification of social media of the activity to know the pace of the digital life on one city. And we put 10 metronomes, and we always select one is the city where it's displayed, and some are nearby cities and some are far away. And normally we have some cities that we always put like iconic cities like New York or London or Tokyo or Hong Kong. And then others that they have been changed. And basically, we curate 10 cities, and this work has been with us so long that we want to have different versions of metronomes. We started with a very hacked traditional metronome that we needed to put like a string. And now it's fully mechanized.
I mean, one is metronome, but I think more interesting is the year of production is 2010. This was the year when Twitter came out with the geolocative API. So if now we say, oh yeah, that's kind of normal thing to do, then in 2010 it was not really normal. Yeah, we will end soon also, and then we can take the questions. Here also, what I wanted to point out that for us or for me, this work was also a trigger to start my PhD, or this was kind of the basis for my PhD proposal, because in this work where all people are kind of contributing the data. But when you go to the gallery space, then this work has interactive system with data, but in the gallery space, there is no active participant who would actually be part of the work and experience the feedback. So this disappearance of active participant, which is kind of shift from interaction to post-participation, this is the topic of my PhD thesis. If someone is interested, you have, again, here a link, and you can read more about this. And we need to round now up. You can ask us about
yeah, we have more work.
things.
Metronomes, that's something that we have. Meeting machines and metronomes are some objects that they kind of follow us.
Yeah, so you can see the process also.
I mean, this we show. I mean, we didn't explain, but we show some other metronomes that they move with the stock market, and that's our own metronome that we have been developed over the years. This is even not the last version. And yeah, this is some cans that data shop that we can our personal data on this.
Yeah, we approach critically this aspect of data valence, and we kind of take the personal data market in our hands, and we turn ourselves into products, and we trade with our own data. Yeah, and we have more work, but I think now
maybe let's show the last keep smiling, maybe.
Okay.
Last one. Let's show we do a lot of we work a lot in creative AI, and also we have some that are like very critical towards the AI, and we presented actually last year in Coimbra in XCOAX Keep Smiling. Maybe some of you had tried in the exhibition.
But also
if no, you can actually try.
SIGGRAPH facials.
Yeah, and also in CMD facial. If no, you didn't try, you can try in our website. It's called Keep Smiling. .barbaramar, like barbaramar.info, and you can try the full experience there. It's an AI system that will simulate a job interview with you, where I can guarantee will ask you to smile a lot.
We evaluate your micro emotions, and based on that, either you get fired or you will keep smiling forever there. So yeah, we are kind of
and he's talking about this in the job market, the more and more the AI systems enter into the hiring process, and that we are being evaluated by these algorithms, that and the particular one of like the emotions in the face is very controversial, because first is that the data sets that are trained are very biased, and then recently has been several articles, like even after that we wrote this article in ISCOAX about the standardized smile of American smile, like that is kind of very overrepresented the American smile way on the data sets, and means the many other ways of doing it will be scoring down. Means you really need to fake up you're kind of smiling to the algorithm to be rated in a good way.
Okay, I think we can now take some questions because we are over time.
Thank you so much for this great presentation, and congratulations for your impressive work.
Yeah, thank you.
So we'll now open the Q&A, and we already have some questions. And who's watching on YouTube, feel free to type some more questions on the chat. So speaking on AI, people are now worried about AI being more creative than them. So do you think this is an actual problem, or are we now starting to see different creative processes that involve AI and humans?
Well, if I can ask, I mean, I can answer. I mean, we are more and more an infused society with AI being infused inside, even in some layers where we don't really perceive. I think that this will provoke fundamental changes in many ways. I will say, for example, that you will not lose the job for an AI, but you will lose the job for someone who's using AI. And this is something that is happening definitely, and that some works will be transformed huge. In terms of our term in artistic side, and more particularly in interactive art, is actually a very interesting moment, because like many things that were like very complicated to do in the past, now it opens new avenues of like artistic research on this area, which this is like very perverse, because for in one side it's very interesting artistically to explore. It might be a dangerous side on the kind of more society thing, like for example, being able to synthesize so easy and democratize the image production with just like a prompt, that has impact on being able to do fake news and things like that, and this is true. But on the other hand, in artistic side, that's very kind of like interesting, because like not only because you are able to do an image, but you can do systems like interactive systems where you can produce new things that was difficult to produce before. We are working now on new projects on this direction, and definitely I think it blows our mind every time that some research come out, and some research that we are doing too. I mean, some things that are novel, that not even using other people research.
Yeah, I mean, I think I will answer kind of this way, that I think in general, like AI is raising the bar for everything, for expectations of outcomes and results. So it's yeah, maybe some people are losing the jobs. I mean, I'm not sure, but definitely kind of we need to do more things at the same amount of time, and maybe even for less money. So we all, I think our bar is higher for everywhere, like starting from like academia, and also it comes it reaches out also in arts, because you have to work harder to be creative today, because it's the image is seriously devaluated, the text also, so it's yeah, it's kind of it's not enough anymore, just kind of simple solutions, and it takes maybe more and more time and knowledge, like how to keep up with all this innovation what is now recently published, and understand like how it works, and how to kind of implement these things into the creative processes. I mean, definitely it gives totally kind of new perspectives that we couldn't imagine, but yeah, we are kind of trying to engage with this new paradigm and explore to understand through practice, because I don't know, I personally have hard time to understand everything only by reading these archive papers. I mean, it's and really often, like as you see in practice, it's in the end, it's the demo doesn't really demonstrate the full power of the tool.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it will have an impacts things that we don't notice, and we also we have to decide what we want to do in the society in a way, and maybe regulate some things. Like for example, this devaluation of text that might come with these big language models doing everything. Then maybe talks like now will have more meaning. Because when we had put in academia, now I'm talking, for example, more so much attention to the articles and papers, and now being impacted by, I don't know, being able to be I don't know, not maybe written by ChatGPT, but like co-written or kind of like infuse it with AI, let's call it like this, because many tools are appearing of like summarized papers, like doing a lot of like finding references and doing a lot of work that normally before was done by the researcher. Now then other things can become more important. The same that I think that I hope that the illustration and some kind of like think crafts, they can have a new more value when all this like AI can do much easy the digital part. That then the kind of like craft part is more like a human, more like they might increase the value, the human factor.
Yeah, but our kind of experience also is that I think there is really our experience is that, let's say, very kind of specific domains in art and design, they are heavily generalized by AI. So I think it's we need to kind of decolonize this AI tools, which could be also then applied in creative fields, because at the moment what we see is a general view of, I don't know, fashion or Monet painting or
also
so
people is talking about a lot about now that it's so easy to make an image now with some of these image text to image models, but make some image that is meaningful for you. Like at the beginning everything looks good to you, but then when you start to get more picky with your eyes, and we are getting all much more picky, because that is not getting new now. It's like almost 1 year old, all these like text to image something models, like then to get like more interesting results, more like style on these kind of things, that is just like much more complicated. And this is where some will become like artists that are able to say that they are artists with these mediums, or just someone exploring. The same as photography. Photography was very complicated, very technical in the beginning, then became very easy. Now everyone can do photos with their mobile phones. It's as easy as using now text-to-image models, but not everyone is able to be a photographer that can claim that their photos are meaningful and that their artistic products are kind of high standard. I think Hersman, maybe some of you know the researcher that is in Adobe, is doing these parallels of photography and the AI works, and I think they're very good because you can see with photography that it also were like a lot of movement against the photography to go into contemporary art, and it took a while. But now no one denies that photography is one medium.
Maybe they have more questions.
Yeah.
Was a long answer. Sorry.
No, great answers. Thank you. And I actually believe you are a great example of how we can take advantage of AI to actually open new paths and be more creative ourselves, in collaboration with AI. We're now going to take a question from the public. I'm going to read it to you. And it is picking up on Varvara's answers, which are quite pertinent. However, as art teachers, don't you think AI systems are cutting short the creative process? All that brainstorming process and looking for designing something, implementing something is quickly discarded to go and test DALL-E 2, Midjourney, and ChatGPT and tools alike?
No, I don't think they're cut short. I think it's if students know how to use in their process. I mean, normally it takes more effort than less effort.
Yeah, I think
my experience.
It needs like to be redesigned the learning environment and tasks, and then these tools can be beneficial. The same as memorization was broke when Google appeared, and then didn't make sense anymore to kind of like huge memorizations in the schools. And now with the AI has done a new step, and it can allow to make like more critical thinking and to kind of like use the tool in a way where the students maybe can try to prototype ideas faster, and that the things that were not able to do before, like in one period of 1 week, maybe then now as is possible. But then challenge with interesting topic, challenge with sustainability, challenge with problems in society. But then they can use maybe AI tools for kind of like finding ways of realizing. But for example, with the language model, like with the image to text models, we had seen like that we actually identify, like when you have like a trained eye, you can see in a way, oh, this is DALL-E, or this is Midjourney, or this is Stable Diffusion. Like we at the beginning, you think, oh, this is not, you don't get this pattern of these generators, but then we have so trained visual perception that you are trained on the things, and even now probably in few times we will be able to train ourselves to kind of identify somehow, oh, this might be like done with ChatGPT or something like this. Means what at the beginning is a big problem, because we need to adapt to new big change. I think we will cope. I mean, we had to adapt to many things. We had to adapt to many technologies coming to our life. Just realized that the mobile phones adoption, like 15 years ago, not everyone had a phone in their pocket, like a smartphone. And in the last decade, like that had been adopted in massively, Then this kind of changes like so rapid. are so rapid.
Yeah, but back to this, let's say, I don't know, art students and AI or design students, if you really know what you want, you never get it from from AI, you know.
Yeah,
it's then you have to design. Maybe you get, I think kind of like breaking the ice and so on, it might be good as inspiration, but as we talked also about this decolonization of the tool is, we had a workshop with the fashion students, and they couldn't do anything with this because they didn't have domain specific outputs there. So it was really sweaters. So we put general sweaters. So for them was like, it was not helping at all.
For them, for example, we did in the last months, we did several these creative AI workshops. Mainly I did, and we collaborated with Varvara in these boros. And for example, in Tallinn, I did the contemporary art. I can share two examples. Like one student came, a painter by training, and he came because he said he was like stressed because he thought that he would lose his job as a painter after all these like models. And then after second day of the workshop, was a week-long workshop, he came to me and said, Mar, I think I will be fine. I'm very interested in this, but I will be fine. I can still do painting. And I was like, of course you can do painting. And then there was a second painter that she has been using AI for some time. And then she used AI for training models with their own paintings and then finding variations for doing collections. And I found really fascinated her work. And I think that's something that the new process, you see basically that she incorporated AI in the process of like painting and finding ideas and kind of like retraining in her sketches and in her model and his output.
Is not very unique. It's
no,
many
but
they do actually.
Yeah, of course, but she was building some interesting body of paint.
It's a kind of common practice now. Yeah.
Yes, but since she was training with her own data, and that was I wanted to arrive. That's where coming the uniqueness of the output, because like were her own data and she curated this data and then also she interpret later in painting that image. Like actually she was not printing in digital, like she was printing like, and what I want to end up, it's just like everyone needs to find also her pipeline of work, creative work, with the tools that are coming now to the table. And I think it's good that we use the tools that is in the table. Sometimes you don't need to use, not everything new need to be used. But like the students need to understand the possibilities that are on the table and if some fits to them.
Yeah, because I think when I was at school, we were talking about media literacy. Like we have to know how to use media, all these multimedia tools. And I think now we are back to literacy, but we talk about AI literacy. So it's again like we as lecturers, we need to kind of understand and also practitioners what are these tools about, what is the weakness, where is the power, and how it can actually empower us rather than depower us. Yeah. But of course, for that, we need also more open source tools and so on, because I have seen like some works and performances and also workshops where it's oh, ChatGPT is now down, or Colab is not connecting, and you know it's a mess then suddenly. But yes, I guess it's transition time now.
And education also very interesting is that people understand these things, that they now get how these new things work, like how this AI system works. They're not the new panacea. They have their own problems. You need to also still put a lot of work to get out nice results. Means this is all thing that in the education has to be work.
Yeah. Thank you. So, a next question. You also briefly mentioned that the result may be possible to categorize in regards to some kind of errors that happen in the process. You referred to lost in translation confusion. Can you maybe expand on this?
Yeah, one thing is what we mentioned about Yuri Lotman, that he's a Semitician, and
I get the charter. You explain.
Yeah, he described this in his books in the 70s already, and basically is talking about this translation, different mediums that they have when you want to translate different mediums. Actually, in some of his works was referring to actually translation between languages too, but also translation between text to a cinema at that time. And in this translation, there is a lot of creativity generated because they cannot be directly translated. And these errors of translation, of this like trying to translate one thing to one medium to another, is actually a generator of creativity. And in general, he actually mentioned that the art is a creativity machine, because art is able to produce new meaning spaces as it creates. Our Mac is like getting, but we are solving. And yeah, in the AI world, we had been seeing since the beginning with the GAN models, for example, being generalizing like a Francis Bacon machine, especially in the beginning, where everything was mixing, especially when it was, for example, doing portraits of people that will appear like a head with several eyes and two noses, and this was very interesting. And coming back to Herzmann explained this as undeterminacy of the outputs of the GAN models, because they look for pattern recognition, and they kind of are right sometimes, but then, for example, in the training set, they train with there's many training sets that, for example, is trained with two people in the image, and then in the GAN model they produce this thing, but then sometimes these two heads are, if they're too close, then it creates one head that has several things in it, and this is very creative in a way, because this is an error in the terms of like production, but for the artist is what this kind of being a little bit off is what always had done the artist of by some means, sometimes because you have psychological problems, sometimes because you have perception problems, sometimes because you are just being creative and put your mind in a state of a little bit of wildness on thinking. And the AI model sometimes do also because of this error in the system of the production.
Well, it's also that AI doesn't understand semantics. It gets the concept, but it was like one example was there, like I think one dream was like I was riding a mountain bike, and then the clip draw the mountain and the bike on it. So it's separated the concepts, but it doesn't get the meaning. So, and that's why we say like AI explain through this, because through interaction people can realize actually how it gets the meaning, and what it gets and what it doesn't get, and why, and also you see like on what these big models are trained, because also, for instance, if you say, for instance, laugh, it gets a lot of like this poster style graphics, because it's or you can see that it's trained on the images which has the text, for instance, or
because love maybe takes the St. Valentine's Day and a part of some pictures of people loving each other or something. Means there's a lot of things, but coming back to this meaning and form, this is what in language models they say, that the language models, they get the form but not the meaning, and this is also happening into the image, that they just manage to generate similar patterns, but the meaning is just floating. And in art it's very interesting, because like since the meaning is floating, it's very creative, but that is like the part where it's a threat on society, because the meaning is floating. And
also AI doesn't get like abstract concepts, so it's very interesting what start to happen when you start to kind of input very abstract concepts and how it understands, I don't know, melancholy, for instance.
At the end, people should realize that it's just a statistical machine, very complex, but a statistical machine, and many things is not understood by the system. It's just like it put together something that in the high dimensional spaces that these models are made, it makes sense, but that doesn't mean that there is it cannot go wrong in huge extent. But in creative side, that might be a very potential thing to explore and to use it also.
Yeah. The error is a big part of creativity. And because we are running out of time, maybe we will take one last question from the public. And it is, from your presentation, it seemed that the reaction of people is an aspect that does matter much in your work. I'm referring to the butterfly and cloud installations, but also to the knitting with your mind. Did you receive any feedback so far that actually surprised you or did not expect? Did it bring any change to your work?
I would say that, yeah, the reaction, it matters to us. We're not making normally user studies, but like the butterfly was, for example, was seen by 70,000 people in London just in the first exhibition. Yeah, it was the most seen exhibition in London in 2014. And we received tons of like good compliments about this work. It was appearing in many articles, and people actually like it a lot.
What was surprising?
For surprising is what the people wished. The first that the people started to wish in the beginning of the exhibition that we were really surprised was about many things about money that we will not expect. Like becoming a millionaire or something, or I wish to get £1 million or something like that. That was a surprise to us, how many like of this kind of topic was people wishing. And then also, I mean, yeah, some kind of like you see reactions of like emotion reactions that people were getting towards the work. What you could
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, this works, what we showed, I think the people, the audience went with our plan. Let's say like this. It was because throughout the time we learned how to kind of guide to do interaction design, no, to guide the audience and how to kind of close the loopholes of our installation. But like one work, for instance, sometimes it's not easy to work with interactive systems because people don't treat sometimes interfaces with a care, or they don't get what it is, and so on. So when one day I was really kind of tired of doing interactive work, then I turned it then I thought like, okay, let's make something where people can actually hit the things, because it seems like people like to hit the things. And this was also connected with the idea of like this therapeutical hit. If something is not working, people start to hit those. And so one work is glitch and hit, where you have to kind of, you curate by hitting the screen, the output. And it seemed like, it was for me like ironical comment by the artist to the audience, but it seemed that audience really loved it. And in one art fair, it was up, and I had to go away because I was laughing so hard, because one guy was hitting so hard that I thought the wall will the fake wall will fall down. And yeah, this was kind of one inspirational work from frustration of interactive systems. But looks like this was this one, people like get it, like, okay, I have to hit it, then no problem.
And this work is also talking about two things, about how beautiful are the broken technology, and how fragile is the technology also that we are surrounded, and also how beautiful is this kind of like systems of that they broke sometimes, like digital systems. I was saying.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, this error kind of aesthetics.
And also what we kind of learned through our practice is that you have to, if you do interactive work, you have to really narrow down what the participant is doing. So if you say like, oh, you can draw whatever you want, then really often people say like, what I draw? I don't know what to draw. Like, so, and that's why we need to find, like in Dream Painter, for instance, we ask them, because they always ask, oh, what they should tell. Then you said, well, you tell your past dream. But of course, some people will just go there and say, oh, I love you, I don't know, I love you, Mar, and blah, blah, blah. And that's how it is, okay? I mean, but you know, we don't, in this sense, there is freedom, there is directions. Some people follow, some people don't follow, but we really have to kind of narrow it down to kind of one task or the concept. So that's why, for instance, we are the clouds. There is just a body and you can move and then it goes away. For instance, when there is a participative input, then in workshop, we really had to kind of, we had a chance to work with people. So first they don't know what they do, then we explain the concept, we let them time to think. Then sometimes they came back other day with a partner because they had already the plan, what they want that we record, you know. So people need time to reflect, to think what they want to do. So in participative formats, you can kind of work with people and guide them. In interactive ones, you cannot. So that's why it's always surprise, and more you narrow down, it's better. And certain things, we work with translation, like for instance, brain activity to knitting, because none of us have done it in our everyday life. So it's kind of some novel experience. And only by putting this headset, they already feel like, okay, I'm part of the work and so on. But if I would ask them also to tell me a story, I think it will complicate everything. So I think here is the kind of the crucial difference between interaction and participation, and how you can ask the audience to engage with the work. Yeah.
Varvara and Mar, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the audience too. We'll now close the session.
Yeah, thank you for questions. We expect so many questions online. It's a pity we cannot see you all, but yeah, thank you for being still active.
Thank you. I'll now pass the word to João so you can present the next session.
Yeah, so again, thank you for such a wonderful presentation, also for this discussion. The next session will be 1 week from now, so also Wednesday. One change is that it will not happen at 10 PTM +1, but at our original time, 5 p.m. PTM 1. So please join the session in 1 week. The guest speaker will be Jonas Peltzer, and we will see you in 1 week. And thank you again for joining this session. And I will now close the live